Hi, I'm Colin and welcome to How to Paint Watercolors. So if you're ready, we'll get started and we'll paint this one. Hello everybody and welcome back to Painting Watercolors with me, Colin. This is a Highland scene and it comes from a photograph. Unfortunately it doesn't name the Loch, and I'll give you a quick run round of the colours that I'll be using for this. This is only suggested: Naples yellow, cadmium yellow deep, alizarin crimson, cobalt violet, cobalt blue, French ultramarine, burnt umber and some neutral tint. And we'll be pushing and pulling some colours about. So I'm just going to drop this in. I've just dried off the shoreline so the colours don't spread too far. And I want some of the cobalt violet with a touch of the crimson in. Just give it a pinky colour, see what the spread is like. And we'll just drop some clouds in. I'm just dropping it in, just pulling it around a little bit and just creating some areas of shape. I give the sky a lot of interest. It's the sky that really brought me to this one. Take a touch of neutral tint, it's that watery mix. Cobalt violet. Just darkening some of the underside and the edges on this. Dropping it in and then just allowing the colour just to flow basically anywhere it wants to. Come across, it can get slightly different flavour on it. Still the same three colours, I'm just adjusting it as we go. Slightly darker, some water to this just to play with it a bit. You can play with this one for quite some time. Just adding water and washing parts of it out. Taking some of the cobalt blue into that. Just really giving a lot of interest in the clouds. Water this down, possibly a little bit more blue into it. Just bringing it around the rest of the colours. Some of the Naples yellow, just running in along the bottom, quite pale. And some French ultramarine into that and darken it. Darken it once again with the neutral tint. And we can just bring in some heavier cloud formations. You must remember that this will dry an awful lot lighter. I just want to drop some water in. Just allow all this to play around. Then I want to leave that to dry. Okay, your sky has dried out lovely and soft. I hope you like that. And I'm just re-wetting this very tiny background mountain. I'm taking some of the colour here, but I don't want too much. I want it to be very pale. I'm going to allow each individual mountain to dry and I want them to be almost transparent, so very little paint. And that's it, and we'll let that dry. Okay, now the background one is dry, come to the next set of mountains, the Loch. Just added some water, and we'll take some burnt umber to this, just to drop it down a little further, slightly stronger than the other mountain. Just really allowing it to drop through and run down, because it does help if your board is at an angle when you do this part. Take some French ultramarine and just scrumble this in, just allowing it to mix on the paper, maybe with just a hint of crimson because it's in the sky. Do the colours almost so you can't see it. Excess water. We'll take the excess paint off and then just brush back along the edge, just creating a misty line between the next set of mountains and the one we've just put on. And you leave that one to dry. Now that both sets of background mountains are reasonably dry, I'll take the same colour again, a little bit more on the brush. I'm going to do this one here. I've re-wet it and the board is still set at an angle so the paint will run. I'll bring it down here, bring it through the trees, don't bother about it. On the bottom here I just want to add a little bit of blue. This is French ultramarine and I'm just going to work that in. I want this to be quite reasonably darker than the other set to bring it forward. Just allow it to drift down, take any excess water off the bottom. I do want a little bit of mist on the bottom of this one as well, just so you can't see the bottom edge really. Just adding a little bit of shadow to this background hill, just the shadow side, maybe a little bit more neutral tint. Once again, just taking some of the excess water off, still allowing it to drift. Leave that for a moment, come down to this one, and this one's a fair bit closer. Re-wet it. I'm going to take some yellow, and with this one I'm going to make quite a dark green, just to change the colour slightly. It's almost like a black green. Taking it from different parts of the palette so you end up with different colours slightly. Just mop up the excess water while allowing it still to drift. Same with this one, just mop it up, and then we're going to move in and strengthen this. Just going to drop a little bit of burnt umber in. Just feed the other colour on top and allow it to drift through. See how you're getting all different tones and colours, becoming very soft. Take the excess off the bottom again, gently brush it back. Just allowing mist to form. And then we're going to let that dry. Now that everything's dry, you see how your mist has appeared by adding the water to it at the end or brushing back with the water. It can take some practice, but you will get there. I'm adding some clean water to the whole of the lake area, or the loch area. And I'm going to take some of the magenta and just drop that in here. I'm going to put this in very lightly, a little bit more. All horizontal strokes. Taking some of the grey colour, a little bit more blue to that. Touch more blue. Just dropping some of the cobalt blue in there as well. Deepening it in one or two areas, just by adding some French ultramarine to it. I do want it a little bit dark here. Just adding streaks of colour in. This is the cobalt violet. A little bit of a darker pool here. This could be a shadow from the land. And to put a little tiny reflection in, just along here, this hillside, but we will be misting this out. But I do want to put it in first. Dropping some of the darker colour into it. Maybe a little along here. For this one, you won't see very much of this. Added some neutral tint to this bit. Just want to darken it again. I'm going to take some clean water. The bud is laying flat for this, and I'm just going to drop this in right along the edge and just let it push it out of the way. And then I'm going to let that dry. Now that that's dry, I'm just re-wetting this island, bringing some of the water into the trees just to help with the flow. While I'm here, I might as well put a drop of water in here just to help with the flow and the reflection. I'm going to thicken up a colour, nice and dark. Drop it into the water here, just allowing it to drift. I do want these trees to stand out. Just where I've added the water onto the painting, just let it drift through it. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow into this as well, and a bit of greenery, as we're quite close, but I don't want it too bright. Some of the excess water, a little bit more burnt umber into that. Just adding all sorts of colours. Then I'm just going to touch it with some water and just allow all this to come down. lots of flow. Just keep bringing it down. Moving to a rigger brush, some more neutral tint. Start with this one, I think. Just start to bring your tree branches out. Just dropping some dark in here and there and allow it to flow. Remember, the paper below it is still dry, so this will run nicely. Just encouraging it to come through the water. You'll have plenty of time to get this on. This is just a few bits and pieces on the land, a bit of grass and stuff. All that's interest. I don't want really to define the shoreline because there is some foliage on these, and I'm going to take some of the colour and we can begin to gently put some of this in. I'm just using the tips of the brush, so it's nice to bring the dark patches into the sky. Basically no pressure on the mop brush. I want the tips to stay open. Give the foliage quite an airy feeling. Adding some branches in to give it some structure. I just want to add in a few birds. And this is where you get to sign it, put a mount around it and frame it. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, please leave a comment. All comments are welcome. Please consider subscribing. So, until next time, thank you very much for watching. Thank you.